Well, hello! Something a bit different today in terms of it's a handheld gimbal. And the reason I thought I'd talk about this is because I know a lot of you guys that are doing FPV and making videos are also kind of interested in sort of shooting around what you do in FPV. So people that are sort of vlogging and basically taking your video of, like, here we are going to the field and doing some stuff, thought I might be interested in this sort of stuff. This is a Feiyutech G6 3-axis gimbal for GoPros and cameras like that. And Feiyutech used to be quite big in FPV. It used to be the FY series of autopilots for planes were really big. I haven't seen them do much anymore. I guess that's because everyone's gone iNav, and they've been very into gimbals. So let's have a look what's in here. We have inside this, and people that have viewed my videos before will know I'm very excited when you get a zip case, because it just means things can go away again and be transported and stored really easily. So here's what you get inside. You get this little envelope which says hello, and inside there you've got the instructions in English and one in Chinese. It's got a bunch of QR codes as well for various things. And then you've got the actual gimbal itself, which is this handheld thing here. What you've got here is a 5000 milliamp 26650 cell, which goes in the end. So let's actually get this out of the box. It's held in quite nicely. There's this little bag of accessories, we'll come to that in a sec. This is the actual gimbal itself. This is just a little foam piece in there. Feels really solid, and it's got a bunch of controls on there, which we'll get to in a second. This confused me at first. It's this little section, and what you can do is screw this into here, and basically you can hold your smartphone in there. So if you've got, you can either run the Feiyu app and do the gimbal stuff there, and you can, you know, connect obviously into your GoPro stuff and settings. So you can have that as, like, I guess, a monitor and things. You get more use out of it if you've got a GoPro 5 or 6. They've got some sort of interface. I've only got a GoPro 4 and a Session. As it is, this won't fit the Session without this adapter that I haven't got, but you can get for it. But the 4 will fit nicely in, and anything is of a similar GoPro shape. In a little accessories kit, we've got this USB charging cable, and you've got this little, it's basically a USB to USB wire. What this is for, and I thought this was a really good idea, you've got this little port up here which is basically a charging port, so you can connect your camera in and then connect this up, and then the camera will run off the main 5000 milliamp battery, which means you can run your camera a hell of a lot more time than just the internal battery. Generally speaking, if you're going around doing stuff, you're maybe doing an hour or two, and you can just swap batteries. But if you want to do some sort of time-lapse things, and you can do things with this, you can sort of say rotate slowly over a period of an hour to create a time-lapse. You can run this your camera off of this and get a much longer run time, so you won't be sort of running out of battery halfway through. But let's pop the battery in, we'll charge up, and we'll see what it does. So here's the camera on the gimbal, and you'll notice it's sort of falling aside there. You've got to balance this, and to do it, rather than move the camera around, all you need to do is unscrew this little section a little bit, and then what will happen is you're able to move the camera along and tighten back up again, and you should be able to basically hold it there without it falling, which I've just about got. It's falling a little bit. So if I turn on now, I just hold down this button and the gimbal initialises. Now the default of this one is panning mode, which is your normal gimbal. It faces sort of forward all the time as we do this, and as you turn it sort of slowly pans along with you. So you've got another mode called lock, which you can do by holding this button in, and basically that will sort of always face that direction, and the other thing, you can just do that forever just by pressing this mode button. That then goes into lock, and that doesn't move. And press that again to go back into pan mode. If you press the mode button twice, it goes into follow me mode. So follow me is, it's going to continue to point the way you want it to, but rather than be jerky around it, it's going to slowly go. So obviously the pan works the same, but if we want to look up, as we come back like this, you'll notice the camera coming back as well, and as we come forward it sort of slowly goes forward. And that's quite nice if you're wanting to film stuff but obviously you want this smooth movement around. So the idea is it smooths everything down. We've got a triple tap of this one which turns it 180, which is quite good. It's like you're filming something and you want a selfie. Round it comes, facing at me. Bizarrely though, if you triple tap that again, it's like I'm already facing 180. But what you've got down here, if you double tap this one, it returns everything to normal and goes back to default position. Now also on the back of this, you've got this joystick. So if I hold the joystick left and right, you will see the camera pan around and tilt and go back up, all that cool stuff. And you've also got this little slider here which will change the tilt angle, so I can tilt over that way and back over that way should I want to, and just reset that easily like so. And it's got this other really interesting mode. This is where you'd be wanting to film stuff in a time lapse over time. Obviously you'd be on a tripod and you set it for slightly different things. Now what I did to set this up, I connected to my phone using the app just to say I want the rotation of the pan to be like a full turn every 30 seconds, just to speed things up. You might want to do this over like, you know, multiple hours to get this super smooth movement on a time lapse. But basically what you do, if I hit this 4 times, then what you actually do is manually move to where you want it to be. Like if I want to be facing down there, press the button and then face it where you want it to be. So I'm going to be right over there looking upwards. The idea is, like, you know, we pan across and up. If I then press that, and this is a really speeded up one, it will go back to its session. It will go gently across over this period of time, which I've set quite fast because I wanted to show how this looked, and then it will go up to its end position over this period. So if you imagine that over a period of like an hour or two on time lapse, you could get some really interesting stuff there. Let's just reset that. Pretty cool. It feels really solid in the hand. I don't think, for what I'm doing, I wouldn't really have this connected with my phone on there. Although it is quite cool. If you, once you've got the phone interface on, you can completely control it all just with the phone, as I'm doing now, just sort of panning around, aside from doing anything else like setting the parameters and thing, which is really quite weird. Let's just reset that. So yeah, I mean the thing about the interface is it would connect to the camera. If you've got a GoPro 5 or 6, you've got all your camera settings on that as well, and this is where you'd probably have it on the side doing stuff. But that's not really for me, so I'm just going to now go out and get a bit of footage with this and see how it looks, see how smooth it can be.
And here we are, just walking along, and I'm just trying to see how it is by doing a little selfie, and I quite like the effect of the background being so still. I've just decided to voice over this because I didn't have the GoPro mic'd up, and so I was mainly just gibbering on absolute rubbish. But you see, the walking doesn't take the bounce of your step out, but it kind of takes the movement out. This is with the lock on. You can see I can move around the frame there, which you might want for some things. And I've got a couple of volunteers here just to check how it was with the pan, and you can get a nice smooth pan here without having any sort of tripod or anything. That seems to work quite well. And again here I'm just going with a sort of a handheld sort of following shot, and it does a pretty good job of making this quite smooth. And I think the real difference is in the movement here. So when I can come back up and show it sort of in a different angle, there's a slight smoothness to the way it moves around. And then again I'm trying some weird angles. Here's my feet and I sort of pan upwards into a normal shot. And for a really strange looking idea, here's me walking along getting a 360 pan, giving a sort of pretense that the camera's just floating there. I'm not really holding it, and this is me trying not to look at the camera best I can. It kind of works, kind of doesn't. But yeah, just some ideas. And of course if you've got some way of propelling yourself, then you can just put it on there and you get this sort of effect. This was accidentally filmed in 720p at 30 frames a second. If it looks slightly different, it's not as good quality as I would hope for. And finally, I did a quick pan using the auto pan effect there on the gimbal. What I did is just sit it on a tripod for this one. It's got a tripod screw at the base.
Well, there you go. That was a little bit of test footage there. So when it comes to conclusion, let's have a bit of a sum up, and I'll tell you what I like and what I thought my little niggles were with this. So what's really nice about this is it's not built for a certain camera, it's built for a style of camera. So I've got my GoPro 4 in there at the moment. The Firefly fits in. You can put a GoPro Session in with an adapter. Although it's really built around the GoPro 5 and 6, that's what gives it its most functionality through the app and that. But the fact you can put anything in and you can easily balance it just by changing this ring and slightly shifting the mount about is really good. It works very well. You can just move it around and it does what you tell it to. I was not thinking at first that like, oh, you've got a joystick and you've got buttons, what's that all about? It's actually really simple. The joystick is much more useful than I thought. I always thought I would just be wanting to film straight, but of course you might need to hold it out and then turn it in and face slightly down, and it's really smooth and nice to joystick. It's easier than I thought to do the modes, especially things like have it face you and easily be able to lock it if you want to, so it doesn't turn, and then things like that, which are really nice actually. There are a few little niggles though, and it depends what camera you've got. If you remember, I talked about this little port here where you could plug a USB cable in and connect to your camera. Well, I still think that's a good idea. The only problem is the one that comes in a box has a USB-C end, and this is for a GoPro 5, GoPro 6 it fits in, which is a little perhaps short-sighted, the fact that there are many other cameras and they use mini or micro USBs to charge. So, you know, I could put an adapter in this one, but I couldn't use it out of the box. The other thing I think could be improved is the auto rotate feature. If you remember, you have to set this up to set each axis to rotate at a certain amount of minutes per turn. So this means if I set it to 30 minutes each turn and I put the gimbal here, and let's say I wanted to do a big pan but just lift this up slightly, what would happen is if I set it both at sort of 30 minutes per rotation, the tilt would come up much faster than the pan. What I'd like is an option to have a proportional pan, so I want to start there, I want to end there, but I want the tilt to be proportional throughout the length of the pan, which is, you know, a little bit nitpicky, but I think it would be useful. And the good news is that this firmware is upgradable. You can do it through your PC, you can do it through the app. When you connect, you can upgrade the whole thing. And there are 2 firmware updates there already which do different things, and so there's definitely scope to do it. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I'll be using it from now on, because previously I've been holding my GoPro with part of the GoPro Freeway, and so it's not that much. I mean, obviously it's a bit heavier, but it's not much more hassle to hold out and carrying stuff. So look for more footage from this coming up from me just doing bits to camera out in the field and stuff. Obviously this is a fairly serious piece of kit, and it feels like it as well, and you know, it has the price to match. I mean, that's the only thing. If you were gonna get this, be aware that it's certainly not a cheap piece of equipment, but it certainly does the job very well. Anywho, this has been my video about the Feiyutech G6 gimbal. There are of course links down below from where you can get it, depending which country you're in, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.